First time Lila heard it, she thought it was the wind. A faint, wet rustling inside her right ear as she lay in bed, the curtains shifting slightly in the evening breeze. But when she pressed her head deeper into the pillow, the sound moved with her. A soft tickle, a faint scratching, as though something alive was burrowing deeper into her skull. She sat up sharply, heartbeat hammering, and tried shaking her head. Nothing. Silence. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone's flashlight and tilted her head in front of the mirror. Nothing but darkness and the pale glint of her own frightened eyes staring back. By morning, the sound returned, not just a sound this time, but a sensation. Something moving. Lila winced, digging her pinky finger carefully into her ear, feeling the oily wax and heat, but it was too deep. When she pulled her hand back, she could swear she felt a flutter against her eardrum. Her stomach twisted. She couldn't concentrate on work. Every faint buzz of a light or hum of a computer felt amplified, distorted, almost like her ear was becoming its own echo chamber. That night, she barely slept, lying motionless, one side of her face pressed into the mattress, listening to the subtle scrape-scratch beneath her skin. By the third day, she was desperate. The local clinic smelled of antiseptic and old air conditioning, the kind that buzzed faintly overhead. Dr. Harris, a quiet man with kind eyes but tired hands, listened patiently as Lila described the sensation. Sometimes, he said gently, an insect might crawl in while you're sleeping. It happens more often than you'd think. He smiled, as though trying to soften the horror. Usually it can't go very far. He adjusted the otoscope, its tiny light gleaming like a scalpel's edge, and leaned close. Lila tried not to flinch as the cold metal touched her skin. He peered inside and froze. There was movement, just a flicker, deep inside the dark canal, like something recoiling from the light. Dr. Harris blinked, steadied his hand, and looked again. He thought he saw a translucent shape, no bigger than a fingernail, sliding backward into the shadows. His stomach tightened, but he kept his tone calm. It's probably a small insect, he lied, pulling back. We'll flush it out with warm saline. But something about the way it moved, smooth, deliberate, purposeful, didn't feel insect-like. It didn't scurry. It slithered. When he tilted her head and poured the saline, Lila screamed. The warmth hit her ear, and the thing inside thrashed violently. The sound was faint but undeniable, a moist squirming, as though something alive was being forced to move. Dr. Harris dropped the syringe. A small, clear drop of fluid trickled from her ear, streaked faintly with blood. "It's okay," he murmured, his pulse racing faster than hers. "Just water pressure." He tried again, gentler this time, and suddenly something came loose. A pale, coiled shape floated up in the stainless bowl below, shimmering under the clinic lights. For a moment, neither of them spoke. It looked like a small worm, translucent, with dark lines tracing its body like veins. But it wasn't dead. It twisted faintly, curling as though sensing the air. Lila covered her mouth, gagging. Dr. Harris felt an icy chill crawl up his spine. He'd seen earwigs, larvae, even small leeches, but nothing like this. He placed it carefully under a glass slide and moved it beneath the microscope. The movement continued, slow, rhythmic, almost intelligent. Its body was segmented, but near the top, just beneath the translucent surface, he could make out tiny pulsating nodules that looked disturbingly like eyes. "Doctor?" Lila whispered from the chair, her voice breaking. "Is it out? Is it gone?" Dr. Harris didn't answer, because as he watched, the parasite began to divide. Slowly, the tail end split, the cells elongating like threads, forming two distinct tips. It wasn't dying, it was replicating. He felt his throat tighten. "We got one," he said, forcing composure. "But I think there may be more." That night, Lila couldn't sleep. Even after the procedure, her ears still felt alive. Sometimes, when she turned her head a certain way, she thought she could still hear that faint internal whisper. She sat in the dark, clutching her knees, phone flashlight trembling in her hand. shining into her ear again and again. Nothing. But her mind wouldn't quiet. She thought about the sensation, the way it had moved, not randomly, but intentionally. Across town, Dr. Harris sat alone in his office. He couldn't let it go. He'd sent the specimen to the lab, but curiosity and dread had kept him staring at the microscope long after Lila left. The parasite's tissue wasn't like anything he'd studied. Its surface emitted faint bioluminescence, pulsing gently in the dark. When he looked again an hour later, the slide was empty. The creature had vanished, leaving only a faint oily smear behind. He checked the sealed cover, intact. Somehow, it had slipped through microscopic cracks. That was impossible. And yet the faintest rustle reached his ear then, from behind the microscope lens. He leaned closer, breath shallow. The sound wasn't from the equipment. It was inside him. His ear tingled, an itch deep and unreachable. He froze. Slowly, he raised a hand, pressing his finger to his ear canal. The sensation deepened, soft, crawling, familiar. His pulse skyrocketed. He stumbled to the mirror across the room and tilted his head, using his phone flashlight. Inside, for just a second, he saw it, a glint of translucent movement coiling behind his eardrum. Meanwhile, at home, Lila sat in bed with her pillow over her head, whispering to herself. She could hear faint static through her ear, like distant radio interference, words that weren't words. Then, through the muffled noise, she heard something else, a low hum, rhythmic and steady, matching her own heartbeat. She pressed her hand against her ear, eyes wide. The hum shifted, almost as if responding. Then she heard another sound, far fainter. Two voices, whispering together from deep inside. The next morning, Dr. Harris's clinic was empty. His assistant found his office door locked from the inside. When she finally broke in, she found the microscope still on, the slide cracked, and a small puddle of blood near the floor. No sign of Dr. Harris, except for his coat, neatly folded on the chair, and a note scrawled in shaky handwriting. Don't listen. It learns your voice. 3 days later, Lila was admitted to the emergency ward. She had gone almost completely deaf in her right ear and reported feeling vibrations in her jaw and neck. The ENT specialist inserted a new scope, broadcasting the live image onto a monitor. What they saw made the entire team fall silent. The ear canal wasn't empty. It pulsed, faintly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. The parasite had embedded itself into the tissue, spreading fine, thread-like roots beneath the skin, connecting to the auditory nerves.
It didn't just feed, it bonded.
Lila whimpered as the doctor whispered. It's connected to her cochlea. Another added quietly. It's transmitting impulses. Electrical. The head surgeon looked at the monitor, his voice barely steady. No, it's listening.